Now, Donald Trump has gone all tariffy again. It's an outbreak of a disease, really, isn't it, that manifests itself sort of every few months. The solution to everything seems to be to add more tariffs. Now, Downing Street, interestingly, for the first time, has said that no reciprocal action is off the table if the US does not honour its tariff deal with the UK, but added that no one wants a trade war. So firmly on the fence there, as usual. So Simon Marks joins us, our Washington correspondent, who you can hear from 1 o'clock in the morning on LBC's doing the overnight show, which I guess is the equivalent of this show for you, Simon, given the time difference. What's Trump done, and what does he hope to achieve by this new tariff announcement?
Well, he's actually taken to social media here over the last few hours to send a message clearly directed at governments around the world, including the UK's, warning them not even to think that their situations may have been improved by that Supreme Court decision last Friday that eviscerated the tariffs that lie at the heart not just of his trade policy, but of course at the heart of his foreign policy and national security policy as well. So the president on Truth Social today has written, any country that wants to play games with the ridiculous Supreme Court decision, especially those that have ripped off the USA for years and even decades, will be met, he says, with a much higher tariff and worse than that which they recently agreed to. Buyer beware, he types in all block capitals. Now, this, of course, is the president reacting partly to what he's been hearing from London over the last few hours, partly as well to what he's been hearing from Brussels over the last few hours, where the European Parliament has delayed action on the ratification that they were supposed to be voting on in the next few days of the trade agreement that was struck between EU negotiators and President Trump at Turnberry, with the European Union saying that they are very worried about the threats that President Trump has now made of this across-the-board 15% tariff, and they want clarity from Washington, as so many countries do around the world, about where precisely all of this is going. The one place we know it's not going is the place where the US Constitution says it really should be going, and that's Capitol Hill, where, of course, the president will be making his State of the Union address in just over 24 hours' time. But again, on social media, he has made it clear that he is not going to be seeking congressional input on these tariffs, even though the Constitution says that Congress has the sole right to impose and regulate tariffs. Today, again, on his social media account, the president saying, as president, I do not have to go back to Congress to get approval of tariffs. It has already been given in many forms a long time ago. And then he goes on to claim that the Supreme Court decision actually has reaffirmed some of the tariffs that he has already put into place. So he's a president of the United States doubling down, facing incoming from countries all over the world that want simply to understand what he is planning to do now. And he's got just over 24 hours to figure out what he's going to do and to find a message to deliver to the American public about why his government has not been knocked completely off track by that Supreme Court decision last Friday.
So that's all very well, but what does it mean for us? Because we have a trade deal, don't we?
It's a very good question. Yeah. Well, you have a partial trade deal, but I think it's important to underscore that this is not a deal that either side ever signed in ink. And it's very unclear what happens to the carve-outs, for example, in that partial trade deal. For example, Sir Keir Starmer celebrating what it was going to do for the auto industry because President Trump had conceded that 100,000 cars were going to be allowed to enter the United States at preferential rates rather than the so-called reciprocal Liberation Day tariffs. So number 10 will be as much in the dark as anyone else about precisely what all this means, while the president goes back to the drawing board and decides exactly how to try and keep any tariffs in place. Remember this new 15% across the board thing, he's only allowed to do that for 150 days without congressional authorization. And the other point to make, Ian, is that importers that have paid the duties on all of these tariffs here in the United States, many of them representing exporters that have had to charge higher fees for their goods, they want their money back. And the Trump administration is saying that it could take 5 years of court battles for the people who are owed $150 billion by the American Treasury to get a legal ruling that will force the hand of the government to give them their money back. It's an unbelievable mess.
Now, what have you got in store for us from 1 a.m. tomorrow morning?
Well, that's a very good question. I'm not entirely sure. It's a bit of a surprise that I shall be sitting in for Mr. Spur in just a few hours' time, but I'm absolutely confident that we're going to have a cornucopia of interesting things to talk about. We'll certainly get a preview the President's State of the Union address.
Well, that's tomorrow, isn't it?
We're going to keep an eye. That is indeed just over 24 hours' time. And we're going to be keeping a very close eye, of course, on the skies over Iran, because President Trump continues to have his finger on the button that would allow him to launch military action on Iran. And if he really wanted to engage in a distraction this side of the State of the Union address, who knows what might happen in the next few hours. So we'll talk about those things and lots of others after the news at 1.
You know, the late James Whale, when he used to hand over to me when I first joined LBC, he'd say, coming up next, it's Iain Dale, the man who has his finger on the pulse of Parliament. And Donald Trump has his finger on the nuclear weapon. That just about says it all, doesn't it? Simon, have a good show from 1 a.m.